Hello, once again, welcome to another edition of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. I am your host, as always, the Mouth of Michigan, Ron Mendyka. With me, as always, my co-host, the Merck's Mike Merkel.
I'm right here.
Guys, we have such an action-packed show for you guys today. Like we did last week with Big Ten, we're going to preview Pac-12 football this week. We're going to be talking, why do you or do you not watch UFC/boxing, and is it going to make a comeback? AEW on TNT, we knew that, but now we know for officially they're going on Wednesdays, right? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk some Lions transactions, some guys leaving, some guys coming, all big stuff. And then at last, we're going to be talking some Blake Griffin free agency pitches that did not go our way, because let's kick the Pistons while they're down, why don't we? So
That's what we do here.
Exactly. Let's just jump right. Listen, I'll give them praise when they start winning. But
okay,
until that time happens, you know what I mean? Let's just jump right in, though. Pac-12 football. Some of you may or may not even know the Pac-12 exists. I don't blame you. Some of you may or may not know that half the teams in the Pac-12 exist. Once again, I still don't blame you.
I wouldn't blame you on that.
I mean, honestly. So it's just one of those things to where if you don't know, you're about to know, because we're going to do the exact same thing we did last week, do some over and unders on their season. We predict who wins the Pac-12, all that good stuff coming your way. So, Mike, I'm going to let you lead the charge, my man. Let's do this thing.
Okay. So, we're going to start with the North. They go by North and South, instead of East and West.
Because they're weird?
Because they're different than every other conference in
Sure.
college football. So, with the North, which is probably, in my opinion, the more heavy-sided division.
For sure.
We're going to start with the reigning Pac-12 champions, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last year, they went 10-4, including their postseason success.
10-4, it feels like a lot of losses, doesn't it?
It does.
Doesn't that feel like a lot?
Yes. I mean, they ended the season at, 9-3.
Right,
And then
exactly.
they won the conference, lost a bowl game.
Right.
Long story short.
Yeah.
This year they're set at 9.5. So they're the reigning Pac-12 champs.
Right.
Chris Peterson averages 10.7 wins per season as their coach.
That's crazy.
So that's one big thing.
Yeah.
But they lost many of their defensive starters, including Taylor Rapp and Byron Murphy, who went in the draft this year.
Yep.
They have a pretty easy non-conference schedule, which includes Eastern Washington and Hawaii. But their toughest stretch is weeks 5 through 9, where they have a home game against USC. They're at Stanford, at Arizona, home against Oregon, home against Utah.
Yeah.
So it's a tough 5-game stretch.
I think they're going to be right up there at the very top of that. So you said 9.5?
9.5. Where would you go?
I'm going to go over. I'm going to say they get to 10 wins again. I wouldn't be shocked by that. This is a well-coached football team. Pac-12 football, I would not say is on the top of anybody's radar necessarily. Especially with the way the tiering is in this conference, similar to the Big Ten we were just talking about right before we went on the air. I'd say 10 wins. I'd say that's probably accurate.
Okay. Next we'll go Washington State. Last year they had a record of 11-2 total record.
That's Mike Leach's team, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And their over/under this year is 8.5.
8.5.
He's really done a good job improving this program since last year.
The offense is phenomenal.
Yeah,
That's what
it looks great.
Yeah, it's always what it is.
Their biggest non-conference game, they play Week 3 at Houston, which is their primetime Friday night game.
Right.
And then they play crucial road games, Week 5 against Utah, Week 8 against Oregon, and Week 12 against Washington. So they play kind of their 3 toughest games on the road this year through their schedule. Where do you predict them at?
I would say...
At 8.5.
Yeah, I'm going to say under. I'm going to say 8 is probably their max there.
Okay.
A problem with Mike Leach's teams a lot of time, right, is their defense is a leaky faucet. A lot of times that's what happened. That's what kind of doomed him at Texas Tech. He's a great offensive mind, but at the same time, I think that with some of these teams out there, a little more balanced than them. You know what I mean? They're so heavy-handed, right? But if it's one of those things where it's like, if your offense is on off night, you ain't winning that football game.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what kind of concerns me a little bit. You just said the road game schedule that they have.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 8, but that's probably the top of there. I think they had a bounce back year where it's like, hey, okay, cool, but you're Washington State. Sorry about that.
So next we're going to hit Stanford. Last year they went 9-3. And they're over set at 7.5. So they lost a lot of their pieces from last year.
Yep.
They have their quarterback KJ Costello's back, but lost all his wide receiver weapons to the draft.
Lost Bryce Love too.
They play notable games. They play Northwestern, UCF, and Notre Dame as out of conference schedule, which combined as a 33-7 record last year.
Yeah.
And their first 5 games of the season: home against Northwestern, at USC, at UCF. Home against Oregon, home against Washington, and then Week 12 they play home against Notre Dame.
Wow. That's tough. Even though those are home games, here's the thing. I don't know about you. I'm not a David Shaw guy.
No.
I do not. I don't understand why everybody thinks that this dude is just like the great coach. He's always every year, right? Him and like Sumlin from Texas A&M from the day were like the two guys like, oh, they can make the jump to the NFL, and I go, why? Yeah. Right? I don't understand the David Shaw praise. I really, really don't. I mean. He came after Harbaugh. Harbaugh's the guy who turned it around. You had McCaffrey, who was a top 10 pick. You had Andrew Luck at one point. You had, like, top-notch players, and you never really got in the conversation of being anything more than just Pac-12 champion. So because of that, I'm going to say under. That schedule is disgusting. Those first 5 games especially are going to be rough. Like I said, I don't see the perk about Stanford anymore, right? Like, when they had some players, I got it. You know, even Bryce Love was there, and he was phenomenal. But I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand the love for them anymore. I think it's like the one thing. It's like they're like a really good academic school. It's like, so we really got to hope that they're really good at football too. Yeah. Like it's like, oh my gosh, this is like a crazy phenomenon. But in reality, you've just been average. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna say under on that.
Okay. Next up, we have Oregon. So last year they went 9-4.
Herbie fully loaded.
Yes. Don't even. They last year were at 9-4. Yep. This year they're set at 8.5 as their under/over. So they keep their entire offensive line from last year with their quarterback talent Justin Herbert. They changed their defensive coordinator from Jim Leavitt to Andy Avalos. And they start their season at Auburn. So week 1, ABC, Saturday night, they play Auburn. And then they play huge games on the road, including week 4 at Stanford, week 7 at Washington, and week 9 at USC.
What's their 9.5?
8.5.
8.5? Jeez, this is a tough one to call. I really like Washington this year, so it's hard for me to be like, yeah, Oregon. I think those are going to be the teams that are really duking it out all year. That may be that game, right, decides it. I like Herbert a lot as a prospect. He's big, he's tall, he's tough. You know, he's athletic as all hell, right? So him as a prospect. Oregon, once again, another one of those teams where their defense has just never been able to capitalize on great offensive schemes. You know, even the Mariota year, Mariota was doing a lot, you know, to really keep them afloat. So because of that, I'm going to say 9 wins, and I think they finish second behind Washington. In the Pac-12. I love them. I love what they're going to do, and I think that that's going to be something that we're going to talk about come next year draft time. It's like, well, you couldn't even win the Pac-12 to this, you know, to Herbert, but at the same time, you're like, you know what I mean? More complete team.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree to disagree. Yeah. Because I do think Oregon's going to win it, but that's fine.
Right.
We can agree.
That's okay.
To disagree.
It's okay.
Because I'm always one of us will be right.
You hear that every other team in the conference, you have no chance.
So we're going to hit California next.
Yeah.
They were 7-6 last year, and they're set at 5.5 for their under/over this year. They were shockingly ranked 15th nationally in total defense.
Really? That's kind of surprising.
But they were ranked 115th in total offense.
That seems about right. Yeah.
So they play. Besides, they play week 2 at Washington. They have a pretty non-conference easy schedule. They play big games at Ole Miss, at Oregon, at Utah, at Stanford this year. But they have pretty winnable home games against Oregon State, Washington State, USC. So I guess kind of depends on if you think they're going to win some of those road games.
Some of those road games, yeah. I'm going to say under on this. The Cal's weird. That's a weird football team. Like they're hard to really get a grip on. You know, I'm not necessarily. When I think Cal, I think like Deshaun Jackson still. Like I don't know why I do, but I just do for whatever reason. But I'm going to say under. Like I said, I think there's this side is going to be super top heavy, and then the rest of it's just going to be garbage. So it's kind of one of those things for me where the Pac-12 as a whole doesn't move a needle. So the teams that are going to be really good are going to look like they're going to dominate pretty much the whole season, and then they're going to go and play a team in the SEC or something and get completely destroyed.
Sounds about right. And finally, in the North, we have Oregon State.
Woo!
They were 2-10 last year,
Shocking.
and their under/overs at 2.5.
Wow!
So they start their season home against Oklahoma State. They play home games against Washington, Utah, and Stanford.
They lose all 3 of those games.
And they end the season with home against Arizona State, at Washington State, and then at Oregon.
Yeah, they lose all those games too. I'm going to say 2 is probably their max again. Okay. It's not a good football team. Even their home games are terrible. You know what I mean? So if it was like their non-conference was so easy and their home games were against the weaker half of the division, I'd say maybe. Yeah. You could have maybe 4 or 5, just squeak it out. Like some of these teams, like we talked about last week in the Big Ten, you know, Indiana Florida's got 4 games, all non-conference, that are just cakewalks. You know what I mean? Just to get to a 6-win bowl bid. So it's like, I don't see anything.
That's why
going
9 teams always make it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't see anything for Oregon State.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we just finished.
Beavers, I think, or Beavers or something like that.
Oh yeah, they're the Oregon State Beavers. That's exactly what they are.
You can't catch a break.
So out of the Pac-12 North, who do you have?
I got Washington. I like Oregon a lot. I really, really do. I want to see the defense before I go. Yes, you know what I mean. Their quarterback is great. I agree with that. He's going to be a top prospect. But Washington, I think, is a more complete team. I get they lost a couple people, but that doesn't. The funny thing about Washington a lot of times is that I never can name a specific person on their roster usually, but they're always pretty damn well coached. They have a good, you know what I mean. So it's like one of those things to where, until the draft comes, like, oh yeah, this kid's a stud, this kid's a stud, this kid's a stud, Vita Vea, Byron Murphy, whoever. Yeah. But during the season, I'm like, all right, they're good. I don't know, you know what I mean?
I totally get that.
Yeah.
All right, so now we can head over to the South.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, you can look. Come on, we can at least talk about it.
Doesn't matter. The Oregon-Washington game's going to decide the champion anyway.
Probably.
Which is, once again, our gripe about unbalanced divisions. But that's fine.
Yeah. So we're going to start with Utah.
Yep.
Last year they were 9-5. Their under/over set at 9.5. So they won the Pac-12 South last year, and only lost by 7, even with some star injury players out. So you can say, if you want, how they won that one. Yeah, you can always say that. They played big games on the road, including Week 4 at USC and Week 9 at Washington. But they won't see the top teams like Oregon and Stanford.
That helps.
So they kind of pulled the draw that.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to say they should probably, between them and USC, are probably going to be the 2 teams favorited to come out of that side, honestly. Yeah. So I'm going to say, what is it, 9.5? 9.5. I'm going to say 9 wins, so I'm going to say the under technically, but I still think they're the ones that come out on top in that. I think the rest of them are going to beat each other up, and it's just going to be a pick 'em. But I wouldn't be shocked necessarily to see them be over that, but I don't think Utah is like some groundbreaking program either. You know what I mean?
All right, so we'll go kind of quick through some of these that don't. Yeah. So Arizona State last year was 7-6.
Herm Edwards.
Under/over 6.5. They play Week 3 at Michigan State. Play tough series at Utah, at UCLA. They end the season with home games against USC, Oregon, and Arizona.
6.5 is there?
6.5.
I'd say 7. I'm going to give Herm Edwards the benefit of the doubt. You turn that program around a little bit. Plus, I like their jerseys, so that's cool too. I'm going to say that. Why not?
So USC last year went 5-7 down year. Their under/over is at 7.5. Last year they ranked 10th in total offense in the Pac-12.
The Pac-12, jeez. I like how you waited for the punchline. I was like, there's no way they were 10th in the country. And then he goes, no, in the conference.
Yeah, out of 12, they were 10th. JT Daniels and his receivers return, hoping for a good season to get some guys coming back that maybe can work with the offense.
Remember when USC had just churned out talent left and right? It just could not stop.
They were like the big...
And then nothing. Yeah.
They start the season with early home games against Stanford and Utah. They play a tough 3-game stretch in the middle, at Washington, at Notre Dame, home against Arizona. They end the season home against Oregon and UCLA.
Under, dude. All these teams are garbage. I'm sorry, but USC, dude, you guys... I get Lynn Swan as your AD now. That's cool, I guess, but that's garbage. It's all hot garbage. Who's their coach now? Do you know who their coach is anymore?
They just got someone new, I think. Yeah, I didn't see it.
I think Steve Sarkisian is back as an OC, I think, out there. Oh, no, I think he's in Bama again. I don't know. It's all terrible, dude. It's so bad.
Next is Arizona.
Jeez.
They also had a 5-7 record last year. They're also... Oh, no, they're at 6.5, not 7.5 like USC. Start season with tough home games against Texas Tech, UCLA, and Washington. They have a tough 3-game road stretch in the middle at USC, at Stanford, at Oregon, and they end the season at Arizona State.
That's a tough one. Arizona's a weird team for me because they've gone through so many random scheme changes, with Rich Rod and and all that good stuff. So 6.5.
Yes, 6.5.
Jeez, that's a tough one. I'll say over, and they get to 7 somehow, I guess. I don't know. These teams are so hard to predict because they're all hot garbage. Sorry. I mean, I don't mean to be blunt about it, but
just wait till we get the SEC or the ACC.
Oh, I know, right? It's just going to be let's talk about 4 teams, let's not talk about everybody else. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So UCLA last year was 3-9.
Garbage.
Under/over 6.5.
Oh, under. Just under. You don't even tell me the schedule. It's under. Come on, dude.
That's fine.
They haven't been anything in years.
And Colorado's next. Last year they were 5-7. Their under-overs at 4.5. Start season with a 3-game home stretch. Colorado State, Nebraska, Air Force.
All right, that's 3 wins right there.
They play tough teams at home, including Washington, Stanford, and USC.
Okay.
And their toughest test will be road games against Oregon and Utah.
4.5, you
Late,
said?
yeah.
I think they get over. They get at least 5 wins. They got 3 already off the top that they're probably going to win. I mean, come on, dude. So.
Okay, so who wins the South for you?
I'm going to say Utah does it again. I don't like what USC's doing. I don't see anything happening for UCLA. There ain't another team out there worth talking about, to be honest with you. So I'm only talking about those because people know what the hell I'm talking about when I say those teams. So, yeah, they do, and then Washington wins it all.
Okay.
I'm assuming you probably have Oregon and Utah.
I do.
Yeah.
And I have Oregon.
You got Oregon.
So
I know you're a big Herbert guy. And that's the thing, though, right? And as I said before, it's extremely difficult for me to go, yeah, that's going to be, you know what I mean? Because Oregon is a team, to me, where sometimes I'm like, I don't know how anybody's stopping these people. And then it's always the one game where I'm like, these guys are just hot garbage. Like, good Lord. You know, so it's just one of those things where if they could truly find a really great defensive coordinator to come in, like, and really just, I mean, the sky's the limit, honestly. Yeah. It really would be.
Do you think now, I guess we'll talk about this.
Yeah.
You said Ohio State last year, Washington this week, or Ohio State last week. Do either one of them make the Final Four?
Yeah, I think Ohio State does. I know a lot of people aren't as high on Ohio State because of the coaching change. I know your cousin, we talked to him yesterday, he's not as high on them. No. They lost Haskins, they lost Paris Camp, they've lost some people, but they reload every year, guys. I'm sorry. But until someone tells me that Ohio State's not going to win it, they're going to win the damn thing. So I think they get there. I don't think Washington does. And I'm going to say this because I don't think they're going to have the resume. I don't think they're going to dominate the competition like they're going to need to in order to get there. I think they're going to win, right? I think they're going to be a good team, but they're not going to be a great team. I don't see Washington in the way we just talked about it. I mean, we can go over to half the teams more than 5 seconds because we know they're going to be not good. So because of that, I don't think they're going to have the resume to get in over a team that maybe like Georgia has 2 losses. Georgia may get in even because they lost to Bama and, you know,
and Auburn or
exactly.
Something.
You know what I mean? And we'll talk about that in a future episode, but like I don't see how they get in because you got to think Clemson, Bama probably. Somebody from the Big Ten's got to be getting in. It's going to be probably Ohio State. They'll have that one random loss and their 4th team, which will probably be from one of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a Georgia.
Or Notre Dame is really good again for whatever reason. We don't know why. It's
Notre Dame, you know, since we won't talk about them
Yeah.
since they're not in the Power 5, have a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah.
Because when you're going through, they play guys like Stanford, Washington through the season.
It's not
going to be Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
They have probably one of the tougher schedules because they just have those random.
Right, and I think they have to do that because they don't have a championship game, right? So if you go out and you beat Michigan and you beat Washington, you beat these teams, you go, yeah, we didn't win our conference championship, but we beat the team that, like, say Michigan somehow backs away into a Big Ten championship this year, right? But they beat Michigan. I beat the Big Ten champion, right? I beat the Pac-12 champion. So because of that, that's going to lend them some credibility if they have 1 or 2 losses.
Yeah, that gets into a whole nother argument.
Exactly, absolutely. All right, let's do real quick before we hit the break. I want to talk some UFC/boxing action, okay?
Okay.
The UFC, it's a weird conundrum for me. I guess mixed martial arts, combat sports, I guess we'll use, we'll exclude WWE for a second and professional wrestling. But combat sports used to be a big thing. There was a craze there about 5-6 years ago where that was a really hot thing. The UFC games were coming out. Everybody was really hot about it. The Ultimate Fighter was really popular as a show. Boxing, you still had Pacquiao was pretty much undefeated. Mayweather was doing his thing. You had the Klitschko brothers and the heavyweight division that were really good. It's now kind of stagnant. You know what I mean? It's and boxing's been dying for a while, but the UFC more importantly has. I mean, do you watch either one of these anymore, or is it only for if McGregor's fighting, I'll watch a McGregor fight, or if John Jones or Pacquiao's fighting, I'll watch a Pacquiao fight? But is it even worth it for you to buy that pay-per-view for $50, $60 a pop to watch one guy? Theoretically.
Oh, so I would say yes to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I've always had the problem with UFC of the fact that I feel like in wrestling, the main event will go time.
Yes.
Like you'll actually get the investment and the entertainment value.
Absolutely.
Where, I don't know, some people might super enjoy when McGregor knocked out, Nate Diaz in 12 seconds?
Right.
2 years ago or whatever. Some people may be like, wow, that was amazing because he knocked him out in 12 seconds. But if you think about it, so you paid $60 to watch someone knock him out in 6 seconds. Or 12 seconds or whatever. That's something that I always get nervous about when I buy it. Now, when you have a good 5-round title fight, that
you're just like the roller coaster. Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard from 5, 7, 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
When 5 rounds was a draw. You know what I mean? We're like, wow.
Yeah, that was a fight. Or even if you wanted to get one of those Diaz-McGregor fights and they go 4 or 5 rounds and you go...
And then the upset happens.
Yeah, then you're like, that was worth it. But sometimes you get into the stigma of maybe it's not worth it.
Do you think that's why some pay-per-view numbers are down, right? We've talked ad nauseum about how professional wrestling ratings, their pay-per-view numbers are down, obviously due to the network. But do you think that is a contributing factor as to why pay-per-view numbers are down? Because historically, right, there was a time where UFC was doing big money. And for certain people, they still are. John Jones, McGregor, at one point it was Rousey. Now, without those guys in the mix, it's like, okay, it's okay. Like, I'd watch it if it was free or at a bar, but I'm not going to... You know what I mean? Invest.
Well, I also think
$60,
I always
$75.
think streaming networks have ruined it too.
Yes.
I feel like people actually. I think UFC's. They have their own streaming thing for after events.
Right.
I think those numbers are high. Like a lot of stocks are high for that, but like the individual events are low because when you have something like the WWE Network, let's be honest, no one's paying $60 to watch every WWE event
Not
anymore.
happening. Nope.
But now that you have the streaming service, I can spend $10 a month.
Right, at $10 a month, and I get all this other stuff. Do you think that UFC, I guess boxing hard because there's so many different associations and stuff like that, but for the UFC specifically, do you think that they benefit from just going, all right, listen, maybe that's not $10, maybe it's $15 a month, right? Something where you go, listen, you're going to get all of our pay-per-views, right? You're going to pay $15 a month, you get all the Ultimate Fighter seasons, you get documentaries,
they do that now.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, like, but with the pay-per-views and everything, just you get all this stuff and just so, here.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I mean? They would totally 100% benefit.
Yeah.
I don't know if they make the same amount of money because it's cheaper, more people get it.
It's more of a continuous stream of revenue.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, personally, I think the big difference is in wrestling, you could watch, like, say your favorite guy is like AJ Styles. Right. He's wrestling either every single week or on these big shows, you know he's going to be on them. Right. Where Conor McGregor might fight once or twice a year. Right. And that's
different
your
sport,
draw.
Obviously, right? Yeah, different levels of preparation.
Yeah,
but
that's your draw, though. It's like Conor McGregor, John Jones. That's your draw, and they only fight once or twice a year.
Do you think that we're going to see a resurgence of this coming up? Do you think that there needs to be more stars? Because all of these sports, at the end of the day, whether it's professional wrestling, whether it's UFC, boxing, are driven by top stars, right? You need to have a reason to watch somebody fight, right? Because, like, if it was two schmucks out there that, you know, look like me going at it, I think it'd be funny as hell to watch, but it's not, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if there's not personalities, if there's not intrigue, if there's not something to make me want to be emotionally invested in there, do you think that we're going to see some more cultivation of some top stars that are more, you know, like a Forrest Griffin or a Chuck Liddell, guys that kind of transcended the sport a little bit and were like, people that, you know what I mean, you can put them in other things like, oh yeah, that's that badass UFC guy. So without McGregor and John Jones, there isn't a lot of that there. No. You know what I mean? So do you think that they need that star potential again to kind of pique interest? Or do you think it's just kind of like this is just how they're going to have to operate?
I mean, it's just kind of how it is. I mean, they have, I would say every event that they've had in the last couple of years, the main event has always been, you know, you have like Khabib or you have John Jones or you have Daniel Cormier. You have like one of those main guys, but you don't have a lot of undercard guys that have the personality. I feel like if you had more cards with more like a totality of characters or however you want to put it for UFC standards, I guess maybe that would help out, but
I think it's tough. I think it's tough, right? And I do think too that with that being said, right, the top stars, I think people like seeing new stuff happen. And what I mean by that is, like, I think people like it when, like, the favorite loses. Like, I think a lot of people watch John Jones fight now just to see him lose. Like, that's a big draw, right? Well, when's the last time? I mean, you got, like, double champions galore now. So I think the UFC is relying too much sometimes on 3 or 4 guys. Like, Cormier was light heavyweight champion and heavyweight champion. McGregor was that and that. You know, you got all these guys that are, like, unifying and vacating championships. So it's like, I don't think they have enough depth of guys, you know. Like, I remember one point, the light heavyweight division was stacked. You had Rampage, Machida, Rashad Evans, Forrest Griffin. You had all these guys that were all top contenders for the championship, and, you know what I mean, now you don't have that as much anymore. So, you know what I mean? So I think that's also hurting them. Okay, after the break, we're going to talk AEW on TNT on Wednesday night starting in October. We got some Lions transactions, who's coming, who's going, and we're talking Blake Griffin and how he's not the best recruiter in the world, apparently. According to, well, Blake Griffin. Okay? All that and more after the break. Stick around.
Hey guys, this is the Mouth of Michigan, Rob Mendyka from the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. Just reminding you that we are live every single Monday at 7 in the morning on your favorite streaming services. All 5 major sports: football, basketball, baseball, hockey, and professional wrestling. I'm Always Right Sports Podcast every Monday, 7 a.m. See you there.
All right, and we are back with part 2 of episode 35 of the I'm Always Right Sports. Episode 35, man.
Oh,
You're getting old. You're getting old, bro.
I know. Do you see my shoulders as I do arm circles halfway through?
Got it stretched out. You're ready to go. All right, guys, let's jump right into it. You know, this is a part of the show that's extremely fun for us. AEW, we've been talking about them a lot over the past couple months. Obviously, they're the new hotness in the professional wrestling world, but we now know it's official. Wednesday nights, October, TNT, October 2nd, Wednesday, TNT.
8 p.m.
52 weeks a year, except for Christmas, for whatever reason. They already had that in their thing. I don't know why. But
sometimes Saturdays.
Is it really sometimes
Yeah,
Saturdays? I didn't hear about that either.
Okay, I guess we'll break some news. They said that so they're gonna have minor shows, kind of like their backlashes or whatever equivalents, or like their
Clash. It's Clash of the Champions.
Yeah, they're gonna have Saturday night episodes for an hour or two. Also,
oh, okay, so it's like the clashes. It's like the in between because they're only gonna have 4 pay-per-views a year.
Yeah, they have 52 weeks, and apparently they had 100 dates or something scheduled.
Yes,
or something.
and their top guys are only wrestling 75 nights a year.
Yeah,
which is crazy when you think about that kind of schedule. And we'll jump into that in a second. But is it a smart move? Wednesday was an interesting day for me because it's one of those things where you got Monday's Raw, Tuesday SmackDown. It could be moving to Friday, but for right now it's Tuesday, right? You know, you've got WWE moving to Fox. There's the potential of NXT going to Wednesday. Do you think that Wednesday was a smart day to attack? Do you think they should have went to maybe Thursday? Do you think they should have tried Friday? Do you think they should have went head-to-head Monday versus Monday just to see what the hell happened? You know, and really see if you could really tank the ratings, so to speak?
I think Monday's an awful idea. Mm-hmm. And Thursday through Sunday is not a good time either, especially because you have to look at long-term what happens on those days.
Right.
And Monday's Raw, so I don't know how many ratings you'll get initial ratings, but it's going to be tough there.
You're splitting your audience.
Yeah, you're splitting your audience, basically. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, first of all, the weekend's just tough in general to watch wrestling.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then Thursday, for many people that say they don't watch Thursday Night Football, they get 2 million people watching Thursday Night Football because it's NFL football.
Right.
So those 5 days through the weekend basically are almost possible. So I was thinking either Tuesday or Wednesday would be the best day because nothing happens. There's really no sports that go on those days.
Right.
So I think Tuesday or Wednesday, and since they could have really took either, but Wednesday's right in the middle and nothing happens and everyone was home on Wednesdays.
Nothing's good about Wednesday.
I think it's really the perfect day.
Yeah.
And it's right in the middle of the work week. So if you're not invested in WWE's product,
no doubt,
you can only watch the one show for 2 hours and it's right in the middle. So it's not like Monday or Tuesday, but it's not closer to the weekend. It's right in the middle. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, something to make your week go by a little bit
because you're looking forward to it and then you're like, oh, I'm halfway done now.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing.
Absolutely. Do you think that they should be worried though about NXT possibly going live on Fox, right? They've kind of talked about that. There's going to be a show, a post-show thing on Fox now too at one point. That they're going to try to basically populate the whole channel. But do you think that AEW should be worried at all about NXT going live? Because WWE has already come out and said that yes, there will be main roster stars appearing on NXT if they were to go on TV every single week. So, because right now, if you watch an NXT show, and if you're a WWE fan, you know this, NXT shows, for the most part, are boring. There's not a lot to them. There's maybe a one good match out of the hour, and the rest of it is fluff and trying to get new talents established and yada, yada, yada. So, if they were to go to, say, an hour and a half or 2 hours, right, they go to 2 hours and they have some main roster stuff, and you see more people on there every single week, do you think that AEW should be like, oh crap, this could be competition?
No, because I think they ruin NXT if that happens. I think NXT's special in its way of it's an hour. No main roster guys ever show up there for the most part.
What if Roman Reigns is just on all
Yeah, exactly. Now you're just gonna have Roman Reigns on all 3, and he's gonna win the Universal, WWE, and NXT title now, and he's just gonna run steamroll over every show. I guess that's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, right.
I think it would be an awful idea. I think NXT by itself for an hour long is a perfect time, perfect show. If you move to 2 hours, you don't realize how little depth you would have for 2 hours.
Oh yeah, well,
if you go to 2 hours.
You look at this NXT Takeover show that's going to be happening in a couple weeks here, where you look at it and you go, okay, Cole Gargano again, right? Undisputed Era versus the Street Profits, so Era again. Strong Dunn, who's not even on their actual roster, and Velveteen Dream again, right? There's not a lot of depth there. Shayna Baszler's just been women's champion forever. You don't have, Riddle's there now too, but I mean, there's not a lot of depth. You're right. You're absolutely right. And it's very hidden because you're so top heavy. In that company.
Yeah, and it's only an hour-long episode, too.
So you're not overexposing.
Yeah, so you're like, you can have a 6-man tag between Era and whoever and have it go 40 minutes, and then you're fine. You can go off, and then next week or whatever, you have the new guys come in or whatever.
No doubt.
But now with 2-hour shows, now Era's going to be on every single week, and Riddle's going to be wrestling someone every single week, which would be fun until after about 3 months where you go, just like WWE, wow, I can't stand this.
Right, and it's the same matchup over and over and over.
I mean, honestly, we talked about how we were bored against Gargano Ciampa. I wasn't, but you were.
Yeah, I was.
Are you getting bored of Gargano Ciampa or Gargano Cole?
Yeah, absolutely. I understand the reason why the third one's happening, but at the same time, I'm not excited. Excited's not the right word. I'm not necessarily happy about it. I'm not excited about it. I'm just kind of like, all right, it is what it is. It's happening. I'm assuming Cole retains, which makes me happy, but you know what I mean? So for me, it's like they're just dragging their feet on somebody because they don't know what to do with Gargano on the main roster. So let's just keep him in the title fight as long as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
But that would go more stagnant.
Yes,
on a
absolutely.
2-hour show,
no doubt about
Fox.
it. Right. And it's all hypotheticals, right? But I'm just saying, to the AEW point, once again, you go and you say, all right, they're trying to throw all their top, quote-unquote, independent talent that's left, right? All the top indie talent's either is in AEW or it's in NXT, right? Mm-hmm. New Japan I'm not even counting right now because they don't really get a lot of American independent talent over there. You know what I mean?
Really.
So, what is AEW, now that we know the dates, the times, and all that good stuff, what do they need to do to keep you long term? Because we've talked about there's going to be an initial spike, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to go crazy. It's going to pull a 4 or 5 rating, which is going to be like 5 million people. But once the novelty wears off and it's just, oh, by the way, this is every single week, right? What do they need to do? Because I have some ideas, but I want to hear your opinion on it first. What do they need to do to keep you invested into the product? Because at some point, these guys are going to become household names if this works, right? So at some point, Kenny Omega is just going to be as familiar as Seth Rollins is to the wrestling community. Yeah. So because of that, what do they need to do? What do they need to stop themselves from doing in order to stay on the current path? I don't need where it's like we're talking about them every single week, but you can't turn into TNA where nobody talks about you ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I would say in the first months as you're going to have so many people, you need to start long-term booking and not short-term booking. Like, you need to set up stuff for like the next year in these first month of shows because you need to go, okay, so we're going to plant seeds for like Kenny Omega turning and going after this.
Right.
You need to plant these seeds early because then it'll keep people invested. Go, wait, when is he going to get that title shot? When is this going to happen? Right. You need to have that so people keep tuning in and say, is this the week it's going to happen? So people keep coming in. And you also, and they kind of are going to benefit from this with their plan of going about it, is you can't have Jericho Omega 7 times in 3 months.
Can't do it.
You have to go, okay, so Jericho, hypothetically say he's the world champion, right? And say he beats Hangman or whatever.
Yeah.
Hangman goes to the back of the line. MJF is the next guy. He beats, and MJF gets it because he beats Kenny Omega or something. Make it work, first of all. Have the stories actually make sense.
Right.
And then he beats him. Okay, MJF is done now. Don't have a lot of back-to-back-to-back matches. You want everything to be as fresh as you can be.
No doubt. No doubt about that.
I think those are the two big things that they do.
I would agree with you.
Like, let's not have Lucha Bros Young Bucks for the 17th time before your TV show even starts.
After this one at All Out, I'm done. I don't need to see it again for a while. No. But so that's the point is, I think you're right. I think the cultivation of talent, because right now you do not, similar to NXT, you've got a lot of top talent, but you don't have a lot of talent underneath that on the undercard right now. You're trying to establish that, and I've given them props on this show before about that, but you need to continue to establish your underneath talent. You need to, keep the storylines fresh. You need to crown champions that people are going to want to watch initially, right? So Jericho beating Adam Page is the right move. I don't care what anybody says, it is. Somebody like the Bucks or somebody winning the tags. I know it's so obvious, but to get somebody like that early on, right, to make people want to come and see that is important.
I do think a tournament for the tag, just
it's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be fantastic,
Perfect.
And you can really just go off of the vibe of the crowd there.
Oh, yeah.
Because
you can be able to establish some teams, too, with this.
Because you can have, say, an 8-man tournament and go, okay, you guys are going to go out, wrestle for 10 minutes, and whoever the crowd's more hot for, that's who's going to win. Because there's so many good teams there. Like, you could have Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy win.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
no one would bat an eyelash. You'd be like, wow, this is a great first team.
Right.
Or you can have the Bucks, or you can have Lucha Bros, or whatever. Whoever they're most hot for, because that's
whoever
who
the
they'll
favorite
watch.
is never going to win it, because that never happens in booking ever. So, like, if Young Bucks make it to the final, whoever they're facing is probably going to win them just because, just by de facto. But so there's a lot of things I think they can do to keep up momentum. I like the fact they're only doing a few pay-per-views a year, not to keep it stale and always have culminations. I think they need to start at the back. So let's just say All Out is their big show every year, right? Like, that's the show.
All something.
Right, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, they need to start there. Okay, what's our main event? What's our main event of All Out 2 or whatever the hell it is, right?
Yeah.
When that happens, how do we get there? And then you need to reverse book everything from then all the way back till October 2nd when they debut. Yeah. How do we get to where we want to go? If we want Omega Rhodes for the title in the main event, how do we get there? You know what I mean? How do we get Bucks versus
Dark Order?
Right, exactly. How do we get How do we get Moxley, Janela, 3 stages of death? Whatever it is, I don't care. Whatever, you know what I mean? So I think that by doing that and taking the time to say, okay, where do we want to be? Who do we need to build? Who do we want to be aligned in what area of the card? You know what I mean? Starting there, developing young talent, and working your way back, I think is going to be the recipe for success.
I also love their win-loss system.
Yes.
They haven't really implemented it too much.
But you're going to see it quickly.
I literally I'll be sitting around and going, so the Bucks are 3-0, and then Hangman Page 3-0. Those are the only 2 undefeated people or whatever. And to me as a fan, I just think about it's so important already that they're 3-0 going into these shows and stuff.
Yeah.
That I feel
it's apparent in this last show, right? They're like, he hasn't won a match yet. You know what I mean? Like MJF hasn't won a match yet or whatever. So
the commentary does a great job of going, Kenny Omega's 1-1. He needs his match against Shima.
Right. He needs to win this in order to maintain relevance.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think that stuff is
huge.
So
absolutely huge. Right. All right. Obviously, we'll keep tabs on it a couple months from now. It's going to be awesome. We're really excited for that. Let's talk some Lions talk, okay? Training camp has officially kicked off. 2019 season
What you got in there?
What, training camp?
Yeah,
I mean, Hawkinson looks like the real deal from 3 days of practice, whatever.
Okay, I was thinking about this the other day. We're going to go super off topic for 6 seconds here.
Yeah.
Would you rather hear all the good stuff that's happening or all the bad stuff that's happening?
I would say all the bad stuff.
Honestly. Okay, that's what I think too.
Honestly,
because I hate hearing
he's just so great and there's no pads on. I get it.
But no, but I just hate hearing Hawkinson made this great catch and stuff. I want to hear Tracy Walker can't cover anybody.
Yeah.
Because then my expectations go, so all these guys are just doing
the man, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
So I
think they've done a nice job. Honestly, I give the Detroit media a lot of flack a lot of times because they're so negative. But in this case, a lot of people are interested to see what the Lions are going to do nationwide, not from a writer perspective, just because they're such an anomaly. No one really knows what they're going to do. They've done a nice job of kind of giving you both pros and cons, right? Yeah. Stafford makes a great throw to Hawkinson in the back of the end zone, and then Stafford underthrows and Rashawn Melvin picks it off. So there's things that you're getting both of it. But if I could only hear one, I want to hear the negative because I want to be like, all right, here's where we have issues. Yeah. Here's what to look for in preseason.
All I hear is all these positive stuff, and then when the season comes in, I go,
and you go, wow, we look like garbage.
Like they literally say, Hawkinson's the next Gronkowski, and then he's dropping every pass, and I go, but didn't they just say that he was doing really good? I hate contradictory stuff.
For sure.
But anyway, let's talk about these signings.
Yeah. All right. So. As many of you know, maybe you don't, but now you're going to hear it first if you haven't. Mike Daniels, defensive tackle, defensive end, whatever you want to call him. Defensive lineman, I guess is the best way. From the Green Bay Packers, was released earlier this week and was immediately picked up by your Detroit Lions for a 1-year deal worth $9.1 million, $7.3 guaranteed at signing. And in the corresponding move, Theo Riddick is now a ex-Detroit Lion. That's right, Theo Riddick, our receiver, he's a receiver, let's be real. Is no longer with the team. Would Lions save about $3.6 million, somewhere around that range, 7, 4, something like that. In cap savings, he's only going to count around $900,000 against the cap this season. So thanks for all of the years, Theo. For thoughts on each move, Mike, because I was really pumped about Mike Daniels coming here. And the reason why he came here, straight out his words, Matt Patricia.
Yes.
So it completely dispels the notion nobody wants to play for Matt Patricia.
Yes.
They came here because Matt Patricia, and he says, quote unquote, he's a genius.
Yes. I mean, I like the move. Our D-line is going to be one of the, top 6 probably in the NFL.
Scary good, baby. So exciting. So exciting.
And Theo Riddick, I mean, I liked Theo Riddick for what he did.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you have other guys who are cheaper that can kind of do that role a little bit. The guy you drafted. Carry-on will probably
That's what it's going to be.
Probably, or you have that guy you drafted that they
Johnson.
said that he's like super fast and he can catch and stuff. So that will be like your new Theo Riddick.
Right. Well, Theo coming off a down year, right? Making almost $4 million a year for a guy who at this point in time was probably 3rd on the depth chart.
Yeah.
At most 3rd, possibly 4th. He didn't run any first team reps since the new season's begun. Carry-on Johnson obviously emerging as the premier back for our Detroit Lions. I love the Mike Daniels signing. I love the fact that he's the next Packer, and he immediately came right to the division, so he's going to play them twice a year. I love the fact that they went and made a bold move, because whether people want to admit it or not, this is a bold move for this team. The fact that they went and said, you know what, screw it. We fortified the D-line by signing Flowers. We got Snacks last year. We drafted Han. We drafted Bryant. We've got pieces here. You still have Ashawn. You re-sign Aquara. Let's turn a strength into a super strength, right? Let's make ourselves even more dominant, more versatile. Imagine a defensive line where you're rotating Snacks, Han, Ashawn, and Mike and Daniels at the same time, where you're just consistently, there's a rotation of good to, and in Snacks and Daniels' case, I would say great talent going through there at all times. You know what I mean? With Flowers, with Aquara, with Kennard, with Jared Davis going to be rushing the passer. There's a lot of pieces on this front 7 of this defense that make me extremely excited to see year 2 of this. You know what I mean? And we're going to talk more training camp updates as we get closer to preseason, because I don't want to. We've had 3-4 days of it, so I don't want to get too into it now. But do you think these moves, the corresponding moves, Daniels signing, Theo release, does this make them better or worse after these 2 things happen?
Is the same the option?
Yeah, you can if you want to go the same. Yeah,
okay,
sure.
I think they're borderline the same. If I had to pick one, I'd say probably a little better.
Yeah.
But I would say the same only because your rotation already was so good.
Yeah.
And I get like adding an extra guy to your rotation.
Pro bowler.
But like if you just take him out, you still have one of the better rotations in the league.
No doubt.
So I'm not saying I mean,
you're not diminishing the fact that he's not a good player. It's just it was already somewhat of a strength going in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you had like 2 great quarterbacks and like you just like took one out and put the other one in. It's like, is that really like
right?
You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of
no doubt about it.
I would say they're about the same.
Yeah, I would say they're a little bit better, and here's why. I think that with Theo out of the rotation now, I think they're going to make the offense just a little bit less predictable, because Theo has no running threat whatsoever. You know what I mean? Putting Daniels in there, he got starter money. He's probably going to start. I know it's only a 1-year deal, which I'm cool with. I think it's going to allow. It just brings more depth, right? Another pass rushing out. It's going to be really hard to run against this defense now going forward, right? So you're going to make teams one-dimensional, which means because you're not going to be able to run the ball effectively, it's going to allow the defense to pin their ears and just go. You know what I mean? It's going to help the secondary. The greater your front 7, the better your secondary is. So if you're fortifying that defensive line, because there's so many question marks in the defensive backfield besides Slay and Diggs, I would say that that's going to help Melvin. It's going to help Justin Coleman. It's going to help possibly Tabor. It's going to help Tracy Walker and Will Harris and Tavai. All these other guys that are going to benefit a lot from this front 4 or 5 or whatever they're going to throw at people.
Yeah.
Really going to help them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Does this reaffirm for you, though, that this is an all-in type move? Do you think that they are all, with the money they spent in the offseason, with the draft picks that they've done at specific key positions, they've revitalized the tight end room, all these things, does this symbolize an all-in move for you?
I don't think it's all in per se. I think it's just building, not even toward the future, just like for future seasons. Because you're just getting a lot of, like, this guy's a veteran guy who you're going to use for, if not anything, leadership skills to upgrade the defensive tackle that we drafted, or Austin Bryant or something.
Right, yes.
And Hawkinson, he's going to be here for 12 years or something. So even hopefully.
Yeah.
So like say in 3 years or 4 years if Stafford leaves and a new guy comes in, Hawkinson can, if he's going to be a Gronk type player like everyone says he's going to be, then he can help out the new guy. Go, okay, this is what we got to do.
Right.
You have receiving depth at Kenny Galladay, who's hopefully here for a very long time because he's still 1 or 2 years in, where you have that 4 to 5 receiver that you go to a new guy, hey, Just in case, this is your number one. We got
Just
you.
throw it.
Yeah,
He's different.
He's like the Calvin Johnson kind of guy where you come and you go, we have someone that you can throw to.
Yeah.
Kerryon Johnson,
Yeah.
he's hopefully going to be here for a long time.
Stays
Cross your
healthy.
fingers.
Stays healthy.
We have a lot of guys who should be
Players.
here for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Which isn't just like, oh, it's all in this year. It's more like all in
Building-
next 4 or 5 years.
And that's the thing, right? In this team, and we're going to do a full roster breakdown coming up here in the coming weeks on this team because I'm really excited about them. But there's not, just as a spoiler, there's not a lot of areas of lacking of depth on this football team. There's very few areas where there's like not another guy where you could place in there and go, okay, I see them starting. You know what I mean? There's a lot of that. There's some holes, but they've done a complete roster overhaul in front of our eyes, and I don't think people truly realize that yet. Go back and look at this roster 3 years ago and look at it now. The turnover is almost completely different. Completely different. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. So, really exciting stuff. I like the sign. Like I said, once again, good luck in New Orleans or wherever you wind up at, Theo. You were great for a good solid 3 seasons for us, so appreciate that. All right, last thing, let's beat up on the Pistons a little bit before we go off air. Blake Griffin goes 0 for 3 on free agent signings. You know, as many of you guys know, in the NBA, star players on individual teams will reach out to guys and go, hey, you should come here, man. We're going to win a championship, yada, yada, yada. Do the whole bait and switch. Blake Griffin went on, I think it was Conan or something like that, and basically said, yeah, I went 0 for 3. At one point, he's like, I texted a guy, and 30 minutes later, I get a report he signed with another team. So, clearly, it was not the, he's not the negotiator. Or, the cap obviously is an issue as well. Does this show, though, the guy like Blake Griffin, who is a premier player in this league, let's be real, he's probably, top 20?
Sure.
Top 20,
yeah,
top 25?
Top 15.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Like at 15.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take a top 15 player. Because of that, though, do you think that kind of shows how hard it is for a guy like him even to, like, get a guy to come here or even think, like, hey, man, you should come to Detroit. We could really do some things.
I would say yes, but I don't think it's purely, it's just hard to get people to come to Detroit. It's just that we're not good. Like, if you had, like, as a player, if you had the option to them or, like, the 9 teams in the West that have a chance at making the playoffs or whatever, like, which one are you going to?
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
I guess my point, though, is, I guess I would say, for instance, a team like Cleveland, right? Like, why would teams go to Cleveland, right? They went, you know what I mean? But, obviously LeBron was there, but, like, why would anybody go to the Clippers? Clippers haven't been good ever.
Yeah, it's just when you see the revival, like, they're actually a chance.
But I'm saying, like, why would Kawhi and Paul George go to L.A.? Because they were terrible. They sold off. They did it in order to sign those guys, but they only went there because it's L.A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going there because of this winning tradition. The Clippers,
that's fair.
You know what I mean?
But, you have to look at, like, they knew they were going together, meaning that they knew they had a chance at winning. When you go to Detroit, you just go, this team's, like, they don't have really that much of a chance, so why, like, waste my X amount of years that you want to play here trying to build the team better when realistically you probably won't win when you can go somewhere else to win. That's kind of how I look at it.
Right.
So,
it speaks to it, right? Absolutely. What do you think they need to do then? Like, what's the next step for them to be able to lure it, or at least have a chance at talking to a guy like Kawhi Leonard?
They need Dwayne Casey to coach the hex out of them, and they need to have a phenomenal year.
Yeah,
and that's really the only way. Like when you look at the Pistons team that
they
won,
finish in like the 4th seed. Do you think that'll help?
Yeah, like something like that, where if you get a high seed and you can go, listen, we made it to the semifinals, and then Blake Griffin can go, hey, we have me, Andre, Derrick Rose, who's playing very well. If you come here,
that's going to really help.
It's going to help us get to a 2nd seed and possibly a conference championship, possibly a finals. Right. Then you go, that's not a bad option. But right now when you go, we were an 8th seed barely, and then we got swept by the Bucks, that's an awesome argument to have versus the Raptors, who are like, we lost Kawhi, but we still have a good team. We won a championship last year. Come here, kind of thing. So it's a tough
tough, right? Do you think that, last question before we end the show, do you think they'll be able to land a top-tier free agent in 2021? And I ask about 2021, not next year.
14 guys.
And because after this season, Reggie's done.
Yeah.
Right? He's gone, or at least his contract is up. The year after that, Drummond could potentially be gone as well, but you still have Blake here, right? That's pretty much the only guy you have. I think Kennard. So, with that being said, do you think that they have do you think that they'll at least be in the mix? Do you think they're going to be able to land a top tier, let's say top 10 guy, to get him to come to Detroit? And his name's not Josh Smith, for the love of Pete.
It would have to be because, like I said, we were a number 4, number 3 seed.
Even if we cleared cap, so all the cap space available, we give out a max contract, there's no way. They would have to have some sort of production along with it.
Like, what if you had, say, hypothetically, like James Harden was like, hey, like, if you was thinking about either re-sign with Houston or going to Detroit, Houston's a 3 or 4 seed in the West, and you're looking at the Pistons, you're like, you didn't even make the playoffs, but you have a lot of money. I'd rather go play over here. So I think you need the success with the...
That confuses me, though, a little bit, because, like, again, I'm going to use the Clippers as a perfect example. Clippers haven't won shit. Excuse my language. You know what I mean? They're in LA. That's why people want to go there. So I think
that's fair, but also... But, like, when you look at it now, I think it's... Kawhi wasn't... To people, there were reports out that Kawhi wasn't going to go there. Paul George didn't go there. Like, he was
no doubt.
He was like, I'm either going to stay in Toronto, go to LA with LeBron, but then Paul George was like, hey, I'll go with you to have 2-star guys there. Then you're like, okay, I'll go.
Right, but my thought being, okay, you have Blake there, right, and let's pray to God he stays healthy, right? So you have that, and you're able to say, okay, I'm going to bring maybe not another max player necessarily, but I'll bring somebody along with me and go. Like, why does anybody want to go to Brooklyn? Because of New York. Why does anybody ever want to go to the Knicks? I mean, nobody wants to go to the Knicks. But point being, people have gone to the Knicks because it's New York. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that there's a little bit of an inherent, like, just because you're in Detroit and nobody wants to come to Detroit. It's not so much that they don't want to because of the team's success. Because I've seen a lot of bad teams land good free agents. Like Amari Stoudemire went to the Knicks for what reason? The Knicks haven't won anything literally ever, but he went there at a time where he was at the top of his game and signed a max deal just to go play in New York. Yeah. Carmelo Anthony left a good Denver Nuggets team.
Well, that's why I think Detroit's not in that, where they're not a big city like that. Like they're not the favorite.
So either you have to be. So you're saying that you have to either be good and have results and people want to come here, or you have to be a premier city. Like, you know what I mean?
It's one of the two. Okay. Like, OKC is not like the prime destination, but they somehow got Paul George, because guess what? Russell Westbrook was working his butt off the year KD left and got an average, the first ever triple-double in such a long time, that he was like, man, if I get that effort every single day, and they made the playoffs, I should go there. Where if you go to Detroit and you're barely making it into the playoffs and Blake Griffin gets hurt a decent amount of the time, you're like, why would I want to go there?
It's just a question, right? You know, because I think it's something that they're getting ready for in the next coming years. You know what I mean? You can kind of see all these contracts, these 2-year deals are like, yep, we're just going to maintain course just until that time happens, and we're going to throw a whole bunch of money at a whole bunch of aging superstars. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
All right, that's going to be it for episode 35. Next week, we're probably going... Which division are we going over in college next week? Have you decided yet, or are we going to leave it as a surprise?
Let's see, ACC, or what's the Big 12? Oh, we'll go Big 10 next week.
Big 12?
Big 12?
Ooh, Big 12 action. All right, a whole bunch of overrated teams that used to be good 25 years ago we're going to talk about. I'm really excited for that. All that good stuff and more next week for the Merc Zone. I am the Mouth of Michigan. We will see you guys, as always, next time.